Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to another episode of Book Club with Caden Kelly, a podcast where I read books, self-help books, self-improvement books, money books, philosophy books, human condition and human nature books to help improve my health, my wealth, my wisdom, and my peace, to help me live a better life and be a better person. And then I come to a podcast like this and I talk about it so that you can improve those areas of your life as well. I do this podcast live, baby. We're live right now with Mashed Potatoes in the chat. We do it live on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube Monday mornings, morning-ish time. Right now it's 9:22 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. You could join us live by going to any of those places. If you follow me, you know the links. If not, go to cadenkellysblog.wordpress.com, and you'll find links to the YouTube, the Facebook, the Twitch, and follow me, subscribe, turn on your notifications, whatever you got to do to get notified when we go live so you can join, share your thoughts, share your comments. It's a good place to do that. It's a good place to do that in the chat, or else you'll just catch it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts later on. On the blog, there's lots of other shit. I've been posting. I've been really good, man. Been really good about posting once a day new TikToks. I've been taking little clips from my podcast and posting them on my Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. God damn, we got it all over the place. But you know what? Everyone's trying to copy TikTok. All of these platforms have their own little shorts. Like YouTube has YouTube Shorts. Facebook has Facebook. Instagram has Reels. I think Facebook is called Reels too, though. And then there's TikTok and Twitter. Not really, but anyway, everyone's doing the TikTok thing. So I'm on all of the platforms doing all the TikToks once a day. You can find all of that. All the access to everything is on the blog, cadenkellysblog.wordpress.com. That might be the most important link, and I need to include it on the little video right here at the bottom where it has all my socials. But there's not there's not an icon for WordPress. So anyway, doesn't matter because you're probably not watching. You're probably just listening. So all you need to know is go to my blog, cadenkellysblog.wordpress.com. You'll find links to everything there. Mashed Potato says, "Where's our new theme music?" Yes, I know. I have it disabled while I'm getting set up. While I turn the stream on, I have it disabled, and I turn it on as the intro. So to let everyone know that, all right, I'm ready. It gets me amped, it gets me wired. But yeah, we got a new theme song. That the intro is new. It's unique to Caden's podcast. And it's it's ours, baby. It's ours. We get to enjoy it now. So yeah, that's why I don't want to play any of the other music that I've been playing for the last year and a half because I thought it was all copyright free. I thought it was free. I downloaded it from a website that said it was non-copywritten lo-fi podcast theme, and I keep getting flagged from YouTube. YouTube keeps flagging me, saying that it's not playing in certain countries around the world. So, but with this new one, we don't get flagged because it's mine, because it's my song. So anyway, welcome to the podcast, everyone. We're doing some chatter to get the vocal cords warmed up. Last week was a busy week, man. Everyone's got COVID. It sounds like, you know how I was sick 2 weeks ago with my sniffles. And, congested and sick. My girlfriend had the same thing. She caught it while we were on our cruise. And when we got home, she took a COVID test and she tested negative. So we went to this party. And after the party, I got sick. And then everybody from the party got sick. And then everyone from the party has been testing positive for COVID. My mom tested positive. My employees are testing positive. And so we probably had COVID, and we got a bad read. We got a bad read, probably, and got everyone sick. But everybody's sick. My mom went to the doctor to get tested this last weekend. There's another. What's the? Oh, I wanted to ask. There's a. I saw on the news at the gym this morning. There's a strain of the flu. Um, there's a flu strain. I think it started with a. Let me see. I wanted to know because there's different kinds of flu. That my mom was like, she thinks that she has the flu. She went and she tested positive for COVID, and then she's like, it's probably just the flu. So I don't know, man. I think it started with an A or an S or something. Different kind of flu names. Not A, B, or C. I don't want to know. I want to know like what because there was one on the news this morning. It said the combination of this flu going around and something else is making this Thanksgiving the most expensive Thanksgiving of ever. I think flour is up 25% than normal. Eggs are up. Milk is up. And it's all corporate greed, right? It's all that corporate greed. These big corporations, they monopolize, they own everything. Just a few companies own all the food, and they are raising prices everywhere. Corporate greed, and no one's doing anything about it. Yeah, I can't find. I don't know any of these. Flu A, flu B. I don't know what those are. So, anyway, most expensive Thanksgiving ever. We have that going for us, and we have the flu and COVID going around. We have a war in the Ukraine. Life is not, life's hard, man. Life is fucking hard. Greedy people out there taking advantage of the little guys like us. And what do we do about it, man? What can we do? What can we do? Politicians are corrupt. Corporations are corrupt. Man, I'm getting deep into politics right now, but this is what our world looks like right now. And who I want to know who is actually has like the full confidence of the government or has the full confidence of corporations. Is there anybody out there that actually trusts both organizations at the same time, corporations and government? Because it always seems like you're either pro corporations, anti gov, or pro gov, anti corporations. Like you're left or right. That's kind of like the stereotypical right wing, left wing person, right? A right wing person is pro corp, anti gov. Left wing is pro gov, anti corp. Is there anybody that's pro corp, pro gov, or I think most people my age are kind of anti gov, anti corp. At least I kind of am. I think that the people at the top of the corporations are corrupt, and I think the people at the top of the government are corrupt, man. I think it sucks. And what can we do? Because our votes don't matter. Yes, they do. But voting, like, I was thinking about this with all of the voting that's going on right now. How much influence does my vote have? Basically zero, right? Basically zero. Each individual vote on its own basically doesn't mean anything. If one person didn't vote out of the whole thing, it doesn't really matter. What's important is getting everybody to vote. And I saw something else about how people in my generation, the younger generation, people under 40 aren't voting. Most people that vote are older than 40 or something like this. 45, 50. They're just older. It's a kind of a generational thing, or maybe it's just a lack of trust and confidence in the system, and so they don't vote. But that's the problem, is we need everybody to vote. It's not the one person's vote that matters. It's having everybody vote. So in a democracy, if voting is so important, then should we coerce the population to vote? Should we make everybody vote? Should it be mandatory or required? You know what? I think this would be an excellent idea. Is kind of like a news source, but it's TikTok, and it keeps you updated on local and federal politics. especially during election cycles. So instead of getting like Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or Daily Wire updates on what's happening with political and social issues, it's like here's your daily dose of what is happening with what politicians are doing or saying what. I think really I think this would, especially at least for me, I think it would be awesome if we could get people to, if we could get not people, but if we could get at least everybody educated, and not you can't make it mandatory though. You can't make people interested in anything. We're not communist. We're not communist China, right? But it's important that everybody participates. But the best way to participate is to be educated and to be informed and updated. Mashed Potato says, I think they both do great things sometimes and horrible things other times. Never really surprised by either outcome. There are states where your vote really matters, like in a swing state like Georgia. Mariah and I voted just barely in the midterms, but in a state as deep red as ours, our vote doesn't matter at all. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm so naive to the whole system. I remember last year going to Caitlin Campbell's dad's rally. I think he was running for a Congress seat. I can't really remember. I'm so naive to politics. It's not good. I'm talking about how important it is, and I'm so naive. But we went to his rally, and he's an awesome guy. I forget his first name. Is it Bill? I think it's William Campbell. Bill Campbell. He's also a bodybuilder, and Bill Campbell. Make sure it's the right guy. Utah. That is not him. Bill Campbell, Utah. He's super jacked. I don't see him on here because he lost. So the point I'm making is he ran as a Republican, but when we went to one of his like a powwow, I get to know him, and we're sitting around chatting with him, and he was talking about how he was. Oh yeah, look at his. I wish I could show you his picture. He's handsome. He's a handsome guy, and he's super jacked, and super reasonable, and excellent politics. I thought, but he didn't have like the typical right winged agenda. He's like, the only way I can stand a chance in running and winning anything in Utah is if you run as a Republican and compete against other Republicans. But part of the issue is people only like the most extreme stances and the most extreme characters and people are the ones that get the most publicity and the most attention, and usually are the ones that end up getting, like Trump and Hillary, right? Trump is, or even better would be like Trump against other reasonable Republicans, if there are any, and Hillary against other reasonable Democrats, if there are any. It's like the most influential politicians are usually the craziest ones, and it sucks. Like what the world needs are well-rounded, reasonable, influential, and educated individuals running shit. Not the craziest ones. We need the most reasonable ones. We need like, we've read a few books on leadership, and like Jocko, I don't know how Jocko Willink would do as a president, but as a Navy SEAL operator and leader, he's extremely composed in high pressure situations, and I think he talks about in his book too. Remember when we read Extreme Ownership? He makes mistakes. People make mistakes, but he takes accountability for mistakes. And do you think that there's any accountability from our leaders? Like, I feel like anytime anything wrong happens, the right is blaming the left or the left is blaming the right. If the right makes a mistake, they do everything they can to show how the left screwed it up. But people don't like. I don't feel like there's accountability. I don't feel like there's real ownership for mistakes. When there's external conflict around the world, it's always pointing fingers. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just all so discouraging. And that's how I'm going to start this podcast. For some reason, I went super political, and I'm not really that political at all. But like all of it sucks. All of the politics is so discouraging to me. Maybe that's why so many people my age aren't voting, is because I think most people have this opinion or this perspective that my one vote in my state doesn't really matter, but my vote would matter if we had everybody voting. Mashed Potato says the more extreme ideas a person has, the more dubious of their opinion I am. It tells me they're getting all their info from one side. But, well, that's a reasonable position to have. But how many people see extreme ideas that way? How many people are able to say, wow, they fit the right-wing narrative that so well, there's probably something suspicious going on here, or they realize that, because it really is it's like I know it's so annoying to reference Joe Rogan, but he calls it a popularity contest. That's all it kind of is a popularity contest. It's not necessarily how well a person would do in office. It's how many people you can get to show up to your rallies and cast your name on their ballots. So, and you really just do that by not by having honest discussions with what you want to do and then executing those ideas. It's what will get me the most votes. What ideas will get me the most votes? And in our Western world culture, politics, we have left-wing ideas and right-wing ideas. We don't have a lot of, like libertarian people, and are they the ones in the middle? Whoever's in the middle-ish. Now, you don't even have to be all the way in the middle. Like, you could be kind of right or kind of left, but the all the way right or the all the way left is just it's just discouraging. That's our world. That's how I feel like our world of politics are. It's why I struggle to vote. It's why I'm not involved in politics very much. It's actually I have family members that have been way into the politics, and it's been really emotionally draining and damaging for them. And it sucks, man. It freaking sucks. Because you want to care, and you have you say, okay, I'm going to be a responsible citizen. I'm going to get involved in these political issues and these social issues, and I'm going to get educated. I'm going to have an opinion, and then I'm going to project my opinion and try to influence people why my opinion makes sense or will improve the state of the world the best, or be the best case scenario for whatever's happening. But then mostly it becomes a battleground for ego and no, without any honest discussion, it direct harmful attacks, hateful attacks, hateful conversations, just being rude. People are rude. Fuck, it sucks. It really sucks. So, speaking of ego, though, that's what our book is going to be about today. Last week we read, we're jumping right into it. Fuck the politics. Last week we read A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. Remember Eckhart Tolle? He's the one here's the last comment. Mashed potatoes. On politics. I've done the all-in on politics thing and didn't get anything out of it. Just made me mad at people, lose friends, etc. Turned out to be a waste of time. Well, then the last thing I'll say is, what do we do about it? How do we get out of that? Because we need to be involved, especially when we feel like our world is collapsing. Remember last week we read the recapture the rapture, and how the world is losing meaning because people are corrupt and politicians take advantage of the people, corporations take advantage of people. We have no say, we have no influence in what happens in our world. We're losing meaning. Blah blah blah. The answer is not to withdraw and build, nuclear shelters. The answer is to get involved and create solutions and implement solutions and fix problems. But so many people are so mad. They get so mad. Like you just can't I remember taking a small group communications class in college, and the professor asked us what was the best way to handle conflict. And they gave us several options. I can't remember all of them. I remember two. Because one of the solutions was what's the word? Compromise. And another solution was collaboration. And there were several other options. But I thought that the best option was compromise. Was when you're dealing with conflict in small groups, I thought, okay, everyone has different ideas, and the only way to get through a problem is to someone has to compromise. That was my logic. And the right answer, the most effective way to handle conflict in small groups, and I would say for all conflict, is not through compromise but through collaboration. And collaboration kind of has compromise in it, but when you collaborate, like one person holds a stance on something, they say this, I think that we should proceed this way. Someone says, I think we should proceed this other way. And instead of saying, okay, well, last time we went with your way, I'm going to go with my way. We're going to go with my way this time. That's compromise, right? Instead of compromising, the best solution is to collaborate our ideas, which requires a lot of effort, requires a lot of patience, a lot of understanding and open-mindedness. It requires a lot of really effortful and difficult traits, really. Instead of being short with people or being stern or stubborn, you got to be patient. You got to be understanding, open-minded. You got to try to see the solution from the other person's perspective. And so they say, I want to go this way because of X, Y, and Z reasons. And then they'll say, okay, well, the reason why I wanted to go this other way is because of A, B, C reasons. And I could see why you'd say X, Y, and Z, but here's why I'd say A, B, and C. And then you say, okay, well, I actually like C better than I like X, so let's do that, and we can collaborate. We'll collaborate. So I learned, that was a huge lesson for me. That was college, man. That was like 6 years ago for me. What is it, 2022? That was like 6 or 5 years ago. It was a big lesson that stood out to me. Collaboration is the best, most effective solution to conflict resolution. And the whole world needs more of that, man. When we talk about big politics, big people making big decisions, instead of saying it's our way or the highway, man, and then if you don't like it, then it goes to fucking nuclear war. We need to have more. The world needs more understanding, patience, long suffering, all those things that Jesus talked about, right? And really, that all of it includes what we're going to talk about in our book today, which is ego. The one reason why we stick to our guns is because we all have ego. We all have opinions. We all have beliefs and systems that we live by, and culture that we think is better than other people's culture. Our way is better than your way. This is ego, and ego is one of the biggest driving factors of conflict. It might be the reason there's conflict in the world, because one person thinks that their way is better than another's, and there's no tolerance, and there's no collaboration. There's not even compromise. It's just like complete annihilation of other people's beliefs and systems. So that's what our book today is about, from Eckhart Tolle. Remember we read shit. I just mentioned it. The Power of Now. The Power of Now was by the same guy. And that was more of like lectures. It was a lecture and question and answer. This was a book. 10 chapters. It was really good. It was a really good book. Let me tell you about Eckhart Tolle, huh? Here's a picture for you, for those of you who like to watch and get the blurry picture of the boy. That's not a... Where's his bio? Illuminating, enlightening, and uplifting, A New Earth is a profoundly spiritual manifesto for a better way of life and for building a better world. Eckhart Tolle is a contemporary spiritual teacher who travels extensively, taking his message throughout the world. That's it. That's all it says on his book. I'm actually curious because he shares some stories from this book about going to college, going to university, and getting his degree, and some experiences that he had. I think he lived like, quote unquote, a normal life where he had I don't even know if he has a family, but he had a job, had an education, and then had a spiritual awakening and removed himself almost entirely from all of it and became this spiritual guru that he is now, who travels extensively, taking his message throughout the world. I don't need to look up his education, but he has an interesting history. So that's all I guess I got to say about that, about our boy. You know what? I've been making my own coffee instead of using the Keurig, and it's not good, man. It's so gross. It's not gross. It's just not as strong. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I've been using the French press. I used to do the French press all the time. Maybe the Keurig is just really good. Anyway, let's talk about A New Earth, huh? This book really. So, A New Earth is the title. Awakening to Your Life's Purpose is the subtitle. And the whole book is about your ego and how it's ruining the world and what we should do about it. How we should get rid of our ego, what that would do for us. 10 chapters. No parts, just 10 chapters. A good way to do it. So let's get right into it. Chapter 1, The Flowering of Human Consciousness. The main purpose of this book is awakening, a shift of consciousness. The ideas and concepts are secondary in this book. Quote, "This book will change your state of consciousness or it will be meaningless." Close quote. Essential to awakening is the recognition of the unawakened you, the ego as it thinks, speaks, and acts, and the mental processes that perpetuate the unawakened state. It's a lot of words. I'm saying a lot of words. I'm going to read that one again because I think this is big. Essential to awakening is the recognition of the unawakened you, the ego as it thinks, speaks, and acts, and the mental processes that perpetuate the unawakened state. The more you make your beliefs into your identity, the more cut off you are from the spiritual dimension within yourself. A quick recap for The Power of Now basically was you are not... I've been posting tons of TikToks on it, so it sounds so repetitive in my head. But you are not... Like, when you talk about you as who you are, who am I? How would you answer that? Who am I? Well, I'm Caden, and I do a podcast, and I clean carpets. No, those are things that you do. But who are you? And the answer that he propagates is... propagates? That doesn't sound right. I'm going to look. Propagates. That's the right word. It's like what he is pushing forward, right? Reproduce, spread, or promote. Yeah. Fuck yeah. I'm just getting smarter. The idea that he propagates is you are the consciousness that inhabits your body. You're not even your thoughts. The thoughts that you have are processes of your brain, but you are the thing that observes the thoughts. You are the thing that observes your body, your reaction. You're the thing that observes your emotion. That's who you are. That is consciousness. That's this awakened state that he's talking about. That was the whole point of The Power of Now. You are consciousness, and you only have this singular moment. There is no past, there is no future. There is only this present moment. Of course, and he even talks about it in this book, it's important we have time, this concept of past and present, to learn from mistakes and to anticipate future events. But the point of finding peace and meaning and overcoming basically all circumstances, all unfortunate circumstances, is living in the present moment, being present and not identifying with your body, with your mind, with your job, with your family, with your relationships, with your addictions, with all the things that cause you suffering or all the things that cause you pleasure. You are not any of those things. You're not the negative thoughts that you have. You're not the positive thoughts you have. You are the thing. You are the consciousness that observes the thoughts. You're the consciousness that observes your body and your actions. So that was basically the whole point of The Power of Now. And it's a lot of reiteration in this book for that same idea. But that's the core principle. The whole point of this book is to bring about awakening, and it might be a lifelong journey of experimenting and trying, or not trying, but observing your thoughts, like meditating. And it's for me, I've been reading these books for over a year, and he makes a lot of references to Jesus and Jesus's teachings and how they correlate. And I've been reading about Jesus my whole life, so it's not like the concepts aren't new, but it's the idea is so tough to grasp. And I guess part of me also thinks that if I were truly enlightened, then I would just like be lifted up into the clouds, and I would be removed from this body, and I would be wearing a white robe and glowing, right? I would be an angel if I were actually enlightened, and I'm not. I still have these negative thoughts, and I still make bad decisions, or make inappropriate decisions, or I make mistakes. So I must not be there yet. But that's not even the point. The point is, you will, like, those negative thoughts and those bad decisions will always be there. And you're not ever going to make perfect decisions. The whole point is to experience peace and to quote unquote wake up, to be awakened, is complete separation from your mistakes and those bad thoughts, from your consciousness. To live your whole life in this present moment with your consciousness. And that's it. I mean, like, I think and that takes effort every single day, and it takes awareness, and it takes practice. It takes mindful recognition of who you are, which is your consciousness, and and what you're doing. Just being aware of your thoughts and how things in the world make you feel, but not associating the peace in your conscious, like the peace in your body and your consciousness, with those things. So that's the point of this book, is to help bring about that state of awareness. It's the shift of consciousness. And essential to awakening is the recognition of the unawakened you. So this makes me think about, I've brought it up several times, but I thought it was so wise, from Derek Thompson's Plain English podcast, where he talks about he calls it his Derek Thompson's bastardized levels of thinking, which are reactive thinking, your the second one is something like living in your thinking, and the third one is metacognition. I'm going to look up the second one. I keep forgetting it. Oh, Plain English. Let's see. So his Derek's bastardized 3 levels of thinking: pure sensory experience, chatter. That's the one. Is the second level, and chatter is getting lost in your thoughts, where you have thoughts, but you aren't yet separated from those thoughts. So like, there's pure sensory experience, which is the first level. Like, let's say you're walking and you stub your toe, and you have like a knee-jerk reaction. You pull your leg back, and your toe is throbbing, and you keep walking. There's not much else that goes into it. The second level of thinking is you stub your toe, and you have the same knee-jerk reaction, and but then you turn around and you look at the crack, and you're like, who the fuck poured this cement? And they did a terrible job. This is a real hazard. Blah blah blah. And you get mad, and you keep walking, and you're trapped in this chatter. You're like, I quote unquote identify with this chatter. The third level of thinking is metacognition. This is thinking about your thoughts. This is living in your consciousness and observing your thoughts. And the third level of consciousness, or the third level of thinking, is you're walking, you stub your toe, you have a knee-jerk reaction, it hurt, and you turn around, you see that the cement's raised, and you have the thought, who the fuck poured this cement? But then you catch yourself, and you say, it's kind of hard to iterate, but you notice that you have that thought. You notice, like, you recognize, oh, I am upset that someone poured this cement, and this hurt my foot, or this hurt my toe, but it doesn't disturb you. Does this make sense? Am I going around, like, I think this is the point. Like, you stub your toe and it hurts, and you notice that the cement was poured unevenly, but you're not upset over it. You're not upset at whoever poured it. You're not upset that the fact that you stubbed your toe, it hurts, but you just are observing that the thoughts. You're observing that, oh, the cement was uneven. You're observing that your foot hurts, and then you keep going. right? You're just observing the pain, the sense, you're observing the sensation. You're observing the thoughts and the reaction, but you're not identifying with it because you're not the pain and you're not the contractor that poured the cement, and the contractor's not out to get you. I think the most pain people feel is living in that zone, not zone 2. Lots of zone 2 training talking lately coming out of my mouth. It's not I think most pain comes from this level 2 thinking, which is chatter. Because whenever anything unfortunate happens, like you get someone cuts you off on the road, or like they forget to put cheese on your cheeseburger, anything that might disturb you. When you have a reaction where you think, oh man, this, like, either this person's out to get me, or the universe is out to get me, or my life sucks, and why didn't I get cheeseburger, and why did that person cut me off, and I didn't even do anything wrong, and blah 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 blah. This is chatter, and you like let the emotions build and build, and you feel angst, you feel anxiety, you feel stress, you get frustrated. But the next level, moving past that is like freedom from that pain. Moving past this, moving past the pure sensory experience, and then moving past the chatter is freedom from the pain that comes from living in the chatter, the stress and the anxiety. It doesn't mean that those things don't exist, or that when someone cuts you off isn't frustrating. It means you can observe. It means you're not a slave to those senses. You're not a slave to those feelings. You can move past those sensations, like that you don't identify with this person cutting you off. Mashed Potatoes says the third level is being able to question the validity of your thoughts. You're able to see whether or not they're rational. Very well put. Very well put. It's being able to question the validity of your thoughts. Yes, and then it allows you to make better decisions. So if you stub your toe and you get pissed because someone poured the cement badly, and you stop yourself and say, "Oh, I'm upset because someone is there anything I can do about this?" No. So you just move on. Your toe's gonna hurt for a little bit, and that's it. And if you get cut off on the road, and you get pissed, then you think, "Oh, shoot, someone just cut me off. Did I do something wrong?" And then maybe you replay the whole situation in your head like I do 500 times and wonder like what I should have done differently. And maybe I could have slowed down to let this person in, or maybe I was driving too slow, or I don't know, or maybe that person was just a douchebag. But yeah, but stopping and analyzing the situation is a really good way to put it. Mashed Potatoes. The third level is being able to question the validity of your thoughts, you're able to see whether or not they're rational. And most of the time it's not. Most of the time that knee-jerk reaction is not super rational. So we're going to bring it back to these motherfucking politicians. If we could like step back from well, and I guess I will, to their credit, I have no idea what's going on behind closed doors, and how thoroughly they're thinking through these decisions that they make. I would say a lot of it is they're trying to win. They're trying to win people and influence people, win friends and influence people, whatever. Trying to maintain their position in office, but I don't think everyone in government is evil. I don't think all corporation leaders are evil. I don't think they're all out to get us. I think they have their own best interests at heart, and their family, and the long-term success of their family. Everybody does. Everybody should, at least. I certainly do for my family, for myself and my family. I want the best for myself and my family. Whether or not they're actively always taking advantage of other people for their own success, that's a different conversation. And I don't know what's going on, but here's me like second guessing my knee-jerk reaction to corporations and to government. Are they all evil? Probably not. It's super unlikely to me that all people in power are corrupt. All of them. That doesn't seem likely. Maybe some of them, maybe most of them, but not all of them. And maybe it just takes a few reasonable people in power to keep the whole system in check. So I'm gonna keep going. That's a lot of. We're only in chapter 1, man. I gotta move on. I got a lot of notes to go through. But this is a lot of good conversation. I think this is, and like the whole point is. Oh, where's my notes? Books. Here we go. a new earth. So I think really, well, here we go. Chapter 2 is ego. I was going to say, I think ego is the thing that keeps us in this level 2 of thinking, of chatter, because we feel entitled to certain things, or we feel like the world should be a certain way, or that or things shouldn't be certain ways. But really, that's ego. So let's talk about ego. The whole rest of this book is about ego. Chapter 2, ego, the current state of humanity. Let me get some motherfucking coffee real quick. Oh, baby, yes. Chapter 2, ego, the current state of humanity. Quote, thinking without awareness is the greatest dilemma of human existence. Very wise, Eckhart. Where do you think Eckhart comes from? He read this book, and I listened to a lot of it, and he comes somewhere, sounds like he is European. I wonder where the name Eckhart Tolle comes from. I could Google it, but I'm not going to. Thinking without awareness is the great dilemma of human existence, close quote. You aren't really attached to things, you're attached to the idea of things. Yeah, you're not, So you're not, okay, and this relates to, really it's like the biggest ones to me are status, maybe in your job, maybe among your friends, maybe in your church, maybe wherever. Like video games, I know one thing that I've for a long time still kind of have been attached to is my quote unquote Valorant rank, and trying to climb out of stupid gold, and I got into platinum, and it was a really monumental moment for me. And but what does it really matter? What does that really matter? And it's not the thing that I'm attached to. It's the idea of the thing. It's the status that I have among my friends, among my peers. So it's not the fact that you are the general manager of a store. You're not actually attached to the position. You're attached to the idea of the thing for all things. How do you abandon your attachment to things? You can't. He says, quote, attachment to things drop themselves when you no longer seek to find yourself in them. In the meantime, just be aware of your attachment to things. Another thing, well, I guess I'll stay with the video games, the video game analogy. So lately, I don't play a lot of video games. I hardly play any video games. And it's not really even an intentional, I'm not like sitting on my couch with my arms folded, like staying away from the computer. Really, I'm prioritizing other things over video games, because when I choose video games, I'm neglecting the other things. And so I've just decided that writing is far more important than video games. Spending time with my girlfriend and my family, more important. Spending time on my business, more important. Spending time on this podcast, more important. And on my exercise, on my health, on some sports, even music. Like, honestly, in truth, video games are probably at the bottom of the totem pole on my list of values. And for the last 2 years, I have put video games on the top of my priority list. During that whole COVID, when COVID first started in 2020, I would work all day. I'd come home. And on my way home from cleaning carpets, I would have DoorDash have my food delivered to dinner to the house, so that by the time I got home, I could eat, and I'd play video games from the moment I got home till midnight, whatever. Go to bed, wake up, go to work, do it all over again, all day. And I was still butthurt because I had friends that weren't working at all during those early days, just playing video games all day. And for the last 2 years, I have not been that obsessed with video. My obsession has waned, but I still I continue to play video games when I know other things are more important to me. And I have my own explanations for, like, I think video games they're so accessible, especially after I bought all this equipment. I've got 2 monitors. I got this big ass gaming computer. I set up a video game stream. That's how the whole streaming thing started, was with video games. Now I'm on a podcast. I've realized that this is more important than that. So what I'm saying is, I relate to what homie is saying here. In those early days, I highly valued how well I played at this stupid games, how it made me look to my friends, and like the quote unquote status. It wasn't the status that I wanted. It was the idea of the status that amongst my friends, what my rank was in Rocket League, what my rank was in Valorant, how good I was at the Modern Warfare 2v2s, how many Warzone dubs I had, how many Fortnite dubs I had, how many Apex dubs I had. You know, it's not the thing that I want. It's what it made me, how it made me feel amongst my peers. And over time, as I've continued to prioritize other things, I've just naturally played less video games, and my happiness has not declined at all. I actually feel more relief not having, like, I don't worry about those stupid indicators anymore. When I play games, I don't give a fuck if I win or lose. My friends still do. My friends get mad at me when I lose. Like, I played on Saturday with Horsley, and I was getting smacked around, and I could tell it was stressing him out. So he moved from ranked to pub, and we continued to get smacked around, and it wasn't fun for him, and it stressed me the fuck out, and so then we stopped playing. So anyway, the point I'm making is those things aren't important to me anymore, and it's not because I made an actual effort to remove my attachment from them. I didn't try it. This was an unintentional realization I had. I just started prioritizing other things more. And what I learned from doing that was some things are just more important than other things. And I should prioritize the things that are more important than the things that are less important. And I'm a happier person for it. And I miss playing video games with my friends. I miss the idea of playing video games with my friends. I wish that we could just play, like, go back to the like early Fortnite days when no one cared about rank, no one cared about wins. Those early Fortnite days were the best, and then early Modern Warfare days were the best because no one cared about their rank or their status. It was like, that's why Dead by Daylight I thought was so fun at the beginning, because no one cared how good anyone was. And then we continued to play, and a couple of our friends got really good. They started getting really high rank, and then it became really competitive, and it just became less fun. And I've said it before, the best moments in video games for me are the times where where it's spontaneous and stupid, and when you're doing it with your friends, and it's hilarious. Those moments where you're belly laughing so hard, like Fall Guys, that little stint we had playing Fall Guys, where no one cares how many wins or losses you have. You make jokes at each other and make bets, and it's stupid and it's fun. Hey, Mashed Potatoes, games do be all about ranked. Unfortunately, I love it. Yeah. Well, and you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't love it, because I don't think that's what you're saying, but it's like it's the status. I guess I think I made my point. I don't need to reiterate, but the whole, to some people it really matters. And the point that Eckhart is making is, if you have attachments, at least be aware of them. If you are attached to your video game rank, or if you are attached to your job status, or if you're attached to, like, how many followers you have on social media, at the very least, be aware of it. And if you are depressed, then you'll find out you'll learn maybe why you're depressed. What about your pickleball rank, though? Yeah, it's the same thing. Like, how attached am I to my pickleball rank? And I don't know if you read my blog yesterday or 2 days ago, but I love climbing the pickleball rank ladder. I love getting better and making better shots and making better decisions and making fewer errors. It feels good to be really good at pickleball. But what I learned, you should go read my blog. The whole thing I learned was, if I want to get, like, better at pickleball, if I want to go from 4.0 to 4.5 to 5.0 to 5.0 plus, I got to put in more hours, more effort, and I have to make sacrifices in other areas of my life. And for the last month, I haven't been able to go to yoga. So when I went back for the first time last Sunday, I was in so much pain. And I was more upset about the yoga losses than I have been about my pickleball losses. Like, when I played pickleball came back to play pickleball for the first time after being gone and sick, I sucked so bad. But that hurt less than how bad it hurt to lose my yoga gains, right? And then just like coming back to video games, I hardly play. So when I do play, I suck ass. And my rank goes to shit. But the point is, the hurt from losing my video game rank or my pickleball rank hurts less than other areas. So what I'm saying is I shouldn't, well, in truth, you shouldn't care about any status. You shouldn't care about any rank, because that's not how you find peace. You don't find peace at finally becoming a 5-0 in pickleball, or finally getting to top 500 in Overwatch, or to becoming radiant in Valorant. That's not where peace. You don't get peace when you hit an accomplishment, and that's what I just hear myself in as my stupid TikTok I made from another book about putting qualifications on happiness. You can't say I'll be happy when I get this thing, because that's not what it's about. You can enjoy the thing. That's the whole point. You can enjoy the thing and be separated from the attachment to it, from the status that it brings. You can enjoy video games without being platinum or diamond or ascendant or radiant. You can enjoy pickleball without being a 5-0 or a 4-5 or a 4-0. You can enjoy all of it. And peace comes by not attaching to the rank or to the status. That's what he's saying here. That's your ego is what says, I'll be happy when I hit 4-5 or 5-0 in pickleball, or I'll be happy when I win this tournament. But that's not, you can enjoy that thing without being attached to the accomplishment. Because if you're attached to the accomplishment and you fail, then you will fall into a state of despair. And you don't have to. That's the thing, is you don't have to fall into a state of despair. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try to and work hard to become better. And he talks about this later in the book, if I ever get to it, because I've been doing so much chattering. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try. It doesn't mean you shouldn't work hard to become good at things, especially things that you care about. The point is, it's not about reaching a specific thing at the end of the work. It's about doing your best in this moment, in this right now, and then paying no regard to the outcome. That's the whole point of awakening and living in the moment, living in the now, living in consciousness, without being attached to the result, attached to the status, and focusing on the right now and not in the future. Boom. Lots of shit. We're only in chapter 2. I'm going to keep going. Quote, the ego wants more than it wants to have. The ego wants to want more than it wants to have. That's how he says it. The ego wants to want more than it wants to have. Ego applies to personal image or expectations. Yes, it's all about identity. Ego is identity. It's attachment to shit. It's your identity. I might be able to blaze through the rest of the book, honestly, because I think we've covered just about everything. Mashed potatoes, honestly, after me saying all that shit, you don't have to respond here, but I do want to hear your response in general. If you want to text me, or whatever. I don't expect you to share it here, but anyway. Chapter 3, the core of ego. I'm going to get some coffee. Be aware of the thoughts that keep grievance alive. Quote, forgiveness happens naturally when you see that it has no purpose other than to strengthen a false sense of self. Close quote. Grievance is the baggage of old thoughts and emotions keeping you in the past. Someone said, I think I saw it in a tweet from some enlightened person, that depression is ego in the past and anxiety is ego in the future, something along those lines. And I think that's pretty much what he's saying here. Grievance is it might be related to depression or sadness because of thoughts or of experiences that you hold in your head, the baggage you have in your head and in your body about the past. Anxiety and stress are the baggage that you hold about events in the future. And all of this dissipates when you separate yourself, your consciousness, from your past from your future. Again, it doesn't mean that you should ignore past events or that you should neglect upcoming events and effort that you need to put in for upcoming events. That's not the point. The point is you can't change the past, and you can't always control the future or the outcome. So the answer is to focus on the now. Be in the now. Focus on what you can do right now, what task is in front of you, what opportunities are in front of you, and do your absolute best. Always do your best. That's a Stoic principle. It's a Buddhist principle. Be present in the moment that you're in right now. Do your best, and don't pay attention to the outcome. Don't pay attention to and then don't worry about the past. Easier said than done. And don't worry about the outcome. Easier said than done. That's what we're talking about here. Baggage in the past is related to depression, and baggage in the future is related to anxiety. Quote, whatever you fight, you strengthen, and what you resist persists. Close quote. You got to let shit go. Yes. The ego thrives on reactivity. Yes. He talks more about reaction and reactivity later on, but so I won't talk about that. But what you fight, you strengthen. What you resist persists. I love that quote. Maybe I'll get that tattooed on my fucking forehead. Like this, it really reminds me of being as I was sick for the last month. Naturally, I just, what I wanted more than anything was to just continue exercising, continue doing my podcast, to continue working, living my life, hanging out with friends, hanging out with my girlfriend and my family. But you have to put all of it on hold to recover, especially with this stupid autoimmune disease. I can't get out of fucking bed, and I can't get off the fucking toilet. So you can't do anything. And it sucks, man. Your whole life is put on pause. But what you resist persists. What you fight, you strengthen. And a lot of the quote, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was really in dismay over the whole sickness, being sick. It sucked. And I wanted more than anything just to be better. So I would try to exercise. I don't know if I made things worse, but more than anything, I mentally resisted the state that I was in. I mentally resisted being sick, and so I would try to exercise, and I would feel like shit. And I'm like, oh man, this sucks. I would just mentally resist the situation I was in, instead of accepting the present moment, accepting the condition of my body, and having a good attitude. I was in a poor state of mind. So what you fight, you strengthen, and what you resist persists. I really like that. Mashed potatoes. I can text that if it's too long. Nothing came. Did you text me? Because nothing came through on the stream. So yeah, text me. I want to hear your thoughts, but only if you're willing to share them. And I'm not gonna read them on the podcast. I just want to hear what you think. Honestly, I'm gonna keep going on my notes. And you can text me later, or you don't have to text me at all. I'm just curious because you're always here, and you're my moderator, and you always have good input. So this is basically our podcast. If I'm going to be totally honest, this is Book Club with Caden and Mashed Potatoes. So, Chapter 4, Role Playing, the Many Faces of the Ego. All feelings of inferiority or superiority are ego. What matters is not the function you play in the world, but whether or not you identify with it. I'm going to just keep reading my notes until something stands out. Separate your thoughts from every situation you're in. All situations are neutral. Focus on the facts when addressing situations, positive and negative. Yeah, this is more on the same shit that we've been talking about. Separate your thoughts from all situations you're in. This is the third level of thinking. This is metacognition. This is thinking about your thoughts. The second level of thinking is this. Oh, your text just came through. Yeah, I'm going to read that. I'm going to read that after the podcast and respond. Unless you want me to read it, but anyway. second level of thinking will have thoughts or react to situations, but will dwell in those thoughts. It will dwell in the reaction. So the third level of thinking is moving beyond that, like mashed potatoes. Great comment. The third level of thinking is being able to question the validity of your thoughts. And this happens as, like, this body in this brain has the thought, but this consciousness is another entity. It's another object, or it's another thing. And that is what observes my thoughts. It's what observes what goes on in this brain. So he says, all situations inherently are neutral. Focus on the facts when addressing situations, positive or negative. This allows you to make better decisions. This is how you make better decisions in life. Quote, suffering has a noble purpose, the evolution of consciousness and the burning up of the ego. Another quote, the truth is that you need to say yes to suffering before you can transcend it. You can't ignore it and you can't neglect it. You have to accept it. It's accepting. I wrote about it in my blog too. It's this idea of surrender, surrendering to uncontrollable or uninfluential circumstances. When you're in a situation that you have, like a family, something tragic happens, you have no control over. Family member dies, you lose your job, you lose your house, whatever. You are only in control of your reaction to the situation. And he says, the truth is that you need to say yes to suffering before you can transcend it. You need to accept it before you can move beyond it. The ego says you can be happy in the future, but peace now is the end of the ego. One with life is one with now. You don't live life. Life lives you. This is peace and presence and consciousness. Ego can exist in groups like political parties, sports teams, and religious groups. Quote, just as egoic collective pulls pull you into unconsciousness and suffering, the enlightened collective can be a vortex for consciousness that will accelerate the planetary shift. You want to make the world a better place? You got to get rid of ego from everybody. Everyone has to be egoless, especially our political leaders. But everyone needs to take a step back and observe. They need to observe their thoughts and observe how they're responding to situations. Everyone on all sides. And if you imagine all leaders around the world had the ability, I think I'm going to be bold enough to say that a lot of leaders live in their ego, and you rise to a state of power, and it goes to it mostly, I would say most of the time, goes to your head, and you're unable to separate your ego from rational decision making. You think I'm the one in charge, I'm the one in power. I was voted into this position. Obviously, I have good ideas. My ideas are good, and I'm gonna put through the things that I think will make the world a better place. So maybe from a good place of intent, but it's not what the world needs. The world needs people to sit back and say, to try to understand other people's perspectives, where other people are coming from, but they need to do it too. You talk about the conflict with Russia and Ukraine and all of the complicated dynamics there. It's not just that the U.S. needs to consider why Russia is doing what it's doing and why Ukraine is, but Ukraine needs to do it about Russia and the U.S., and Russia needs to do it about the Ukraine and NATO. And I mean, I shouldn't say the U.S. I should say NATO, but again, I'm not super involved in the whole situation, so I have no idea. But everybody needs to do it about everybody. That's the dissipation of the ego, and or at least it's the beginning of it. When you can, with good intention, try to consider other people's perspective and decision making, it'll help make the world a better place. Yeah, and it happens in political parties, sports teams, and religious groups. All right, chapter 5, the pain body. Somewhere down here he says the pain body. Yes, the pain body is, quote, the energy field of old but still very much alive emotions that lives in almost every human being. it is, quote, an addiction to unhappiness, the pain body. It's old but very much still alive emotions that exist in almost every human being. It's like the pain body is it's the baggage, it's the grudges that we hold against people and ideas. It's the pettiness. It's, if we feel like we've been wronged and we hold a grudge, that's the pain body. We hold on to those bitter feelings of resentment and grudges, and they influence our decision making. But this is our chatter speaking. This is level 2 thinking. We're not able to consider one, we can't move on. We're living in the past, and two, we are making poor decisions because we feel entitled or we feel like we've been wronged, and we either expect other people to suffer because they've caused us to suffer, or maybe that's it. Yeah, we feel like other people should suffer, or at least that I've been wronged, and so there is no goodness or rightness in the world. That's the pain body. So let's talk about the pain body. Chapter 5. We don't have control of thoughts, just as we don't have control of our autonomic nervous system. Yeah, our thoughts are a result of, it's like external circumstances affect our emotions, and our emotions affect our thoughts. It's like a chain reaction. And then our consciousness is what our third level of thinking is, what observes the thoughts. We can't control our thoughts. We observe our thoughts. Quote, instinctive response is the body's direct response to some external situation. An emotion, on the other hand, is the body's response to a thought. Oh, okay. So I got it the other way around. So something happens in the world, and then we have a thought, and then we have an emotion. Nah, it's honestly, to me, it's sixes. Memories are a powerful tool to learn from the past. They become an issue when, quote, memories, that is to say, thoughts about the past, take over completely, that they turn into a burden, turn problematic, and become part of your sense of self. That's the pain body. When we hold on to hurtful memories, harmful memories. Quote, nothing ever happened in the past that can prevent you from being present now. And if they pass, cannot prevent you from what? Shit. I fuck up my notes, dude. The talk to text thing sucks. I'm going to just guess. And if the past cannot prevent you from being present now, what power does it have? Fucked up that second part of the quote. But the first part is good. Nothing ever happened in the past that cannot or that can prevent you from being present now. You can move on. Nothing. And he's the shining example. He's my shining example. Viktor Frankl from the Holocaust. I don't know how much resentment he actually held in his heart, but through his book, through his wise words and Man's Search for Meaning, he explains that this concept of uncontrollable suffering and controllable suffering, and our ability to endure, I think involuntary is a better word. Voluntary suffering versus involuntary suffering, and our reaction, our how we respond to those things is the indicator of where we are. If we're present in the moment, and if we're alive in our consciousness, if we're aware of our consciousness, if we've awakened and living, again, I don't know how much resentment he actually held in his heart. I know, okay, yes, I don't mean to go off on a tangent. So I won't speak for him. Of course, that's totally irresponsible. But at least he wrote his book, Man's Search for Meaning, and continued to teach and give lectures and share wisdom about enduring hard things. And part of enduring hard things is letting go of the pain that you've been put through. And part of finding peace in the world is letting go of the pain. And we had a conversation with our buddy, Mashed Potatoes, about this, about like what would happen if you had a kid in a school that was a part of a school shooting and died. Part of peace comes through letting that go. and I can't speak to the actual pain of that of a horrible situation like that. It's a crazy situation, but the philosophy that we keep talking about here is you can't live in that moment. You have to let moments go. You have to, I don't, forgive and forget really like doesn't do it justice, but I even remember watching remember Mormon Messages? Do they still make Mormon Messages? There was one I remember as a missionary of a lady. I think a lady lost her daughter to a drunk driver, and the drunk driver survived. And the Mormon Message was her visiting the kid that killed her daughter, and forgave him. And it was a really sentimental experience for both of them. It was harrowing for the young kid who was in jail because of this horrible thing he did. But the mother, instead of scolding him and living in her pain, she released it. Remember, we talked about energy and releasing energy. It's not wrong to feel the hate and the sadness that comes through a horrible experience. But when you experience it and you bottle it up, you cause unnecessary suffering. And part of the solution is experiencing it and thinking about it, right? It's like observing the pain that overcomes your body, but allowing it to move through you, to leave your body, and that part of that is living in this present moment. I remember that Mormon Message was really moving. I mean, it's been 10 years since I've gone to church, really, and not 10 years, 8 years, 6 years. And I remember that Mormon Message, man, because it's powerful to actually conceive or to try to forgive someone who's done something so horrible to you. But this is what he's talking about here, man. Nothing ever happened in the past that can prevent you from being present now. This is how you let pain go. This is your pain body. If you hold on to those hard experiences in the past, then you live in your pain body, and it makes it very hard to make good decisions. The pain body is the energy field of old, but I just read that one. Whoops. Very still alive emotions in almost every human being. It's an addiction to happiness, yes. The story of Jesus offers what most humans strive for in life. Christ can be seen as the archetype of humans, embodying, or I think I meant to say the archetypal human. Yeah. Christ can be seen as the archetypal human, embodying both the pain and the possibility of transcendence. The only perpetrator of evil on the planet is human unconsciousness. That's the only perpetrator of evil on the planet. It's pain, it's feeling pain, living in our pain, causing other people to suffer because of our pain. That's the pain body. Well, that was deep, man. That got real heavy. Sorry if I try to be as I don't want to be ignorant to hard feelings, because people I'm a privileged young white man in middle class America, and it's not an excuse, or it's not a like people in my situation go through hard things, but a lot of people go through way harder things than I've ever gone through, and that doesn't mean that my hard things aren't valid, but what I'm trying to say is I want to be sensitive to really hard situations. But part of the solution to getting over hard situations is the lessons that we're talking about here. I want to talk about them with the respect that they deserve, with the weight that they carry. I don't want to just breeze through I don't want to just mention a school shooting and talk about because I've never personally been affected by it, but people have been recently, and it sucks. So I just don't mean to be insensitive to that. Chapter 6, Breaking Free. This is a short chapter. Reacting to someone else's negative emotions, their ego-driven narratives, adds fuel to the fire. This is the reaction I was talking about. Reacting to someone else's negative emotions, their ego-driven narratives, adds fuel to the fire. Quote, accepting means you allow yourself to feel whatever it is you're feeling in that moment. Unrelated notes, but that's chapter 6. Reacting to other people's negative emotions, it doesn't help anybody. It further validates their I don't want to say wrong. Like but it doesn't help. Reacting doesn't help. He shared a story about some lady that was getting worked up about some court case she was involved in and how she was getting screwed. And all Eckhart Tolle did was listen to her. And she talked for some time. And at the end of her spiel, he didn't say anything. And she said, "This doesn't really matter, does it?" And he said, "No, it doesn't matter." And it's not like, oh, it does, like the things that in your life that you're experiencing don't matter. It's that you are spending too much time associating yourself and your peace of mind and the meaning in your life to this experience. You should address it with the most attention and poise that you can in this present moment, but it doesn't have anything to do with who you are as a person, because you are only your consciousness, and you can't live in the future, you can't live in the past. That's what he means. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter about your future and your past. It's how you're going to handle it right now. Chapter 7, finding who you truly are. I still got quite a bit of notes, but we're getting through it. All right. If peace was what you really wanted, you would choose peace. You would be alert and not be reactive to any event, positive or negative. Close quote, open quote. Hope you respond. Oh, dude, these notes suck. How you respond to people and situations is the best indicator of how well you know yourself. If peace was what you really wanted, you would choose peace. You would be alert and not be reactive to any event. You would observe everything that happens with indifference, and you would make the best decisions you can possible in those moments. That's where peace lives, baby. I made another TikTok about peace. I actually want to find it because it was, it's not do I want to be happy. It's do I want to be happy regardless of what happens. Yes, that was from the Untethered Soul. That was from a different. Oh, was that Eckhart Tolle's book? Oh shit, have I been misquoting him? Who wrote Untethered Soul? Michael Singer. That was Michael Singer. Okay. Yeah. Michael Singer was the one. So he says, it's not do I want to be happy. It's do you want to be happy regardless of what happens? And the answer is you can be. And what's required is observing all events in your life with indifference. And then reacting the best that you can. Let's keep going. Quote, you are not your ego. So when you become aware of the ego in you, it does not mean you know who you are. In fact, it means you know who you are not. When you are aware of your ego, you are aware of who you are not. Interesting thought. Open quote, knowing yourself is being yourself, and being yourself is ceasing to identify with content. Content being the money, status, relationships, all those things. Remember, we're talking about your pickleball rank, your video game rank, your job position, how much money you have, what house you live in. Anything that you can identify with is content. So he says, knowing yourself is being yourself, and being yourself is ceasing to identify with content. Close quote. We only have content because we have consciousness to create content. It's a social status thing. We do it to impress other people, to find mates, to survive in our tribe. Like it's a biological trait that we have to survive. And it doesn't mean, so it's not bad. It's not wrong, but identifying with content, really it only exists because we have consciousness to interpret it, right? Mash Potato says, yes, you can choose peace. You could choose peace, but the truth is that your feelings have an insane amount of control over viewing things with indifference. When you see news of a horrible school shooting, your blood boils and you have whatever feelings naturally come. There's, I don't know if that was, there's no period. I don't know if that's the end of your message. So, but I will, yeah, here it comes. When you see the news of a horrible school shooting, your blood boils and you have whatever feelings naturally come. The lifelong goal, in my opinion, is to be able to experience emotions, take them for what they are, and then apply the appropriate rationale later. Hard to control feelings, easier to control narrative. Yeah, that's exactly what, well, at least that's what I'm trying to say too, because I think that's his point, is you can't choose what events occur. You can only observe them, and you can't choose how you're going to react. You just observe how your body, like how your emotions and what your thoughts are saying. You observe those things. And then, like you said, because you said it so well, this higher level of thinking, where to go? Third level is being able to question the validity of your thoughts, whether you're able to see whether or not they're rational. Yeah, that's the whole point. So your blood will boil when you see something horrible on the news. Yes, and whatever, and you have whatever feelings come naturally. The lifelong goal is to experience emotions. Yes, it's healthy to experience emotions. Take them for what they are. Observe them. Contemplate them. Contemplate the meaning and the source and the validity of them, like you said, and then apply appropriate rationale later. Yeah, and then make the best decisions you can possible. But you can't identify, or you shouldn't identify with your initial response, with your initial thoughts. Like when you, because like people will hear on the news that they'll hear like something seemingly stupid, like I don't know. The only example coming to my head is gas prices. They'll see gas prices rise, and they'll blame Biden, or they'll blame the war in Ukraine. But then they like get attached to those emotions, to that reaction, and so then they hold on to that narrative, and like you're saying, I'm being super repetitive. Observe what's happening in the world. Observe the dumb stuff, but also the horrible stuff, and also the really good stuff and really positive stuff. And hold it. And your effort is your intention should be observe how it makes you feel, but react with indifference. React not because you feel positive or negative emotions. Don't react like if someone. It's easy to say this about negative stuff, but it applies equally to positive stuff. If someone if you're trying to sway a woman and they show interest in you, and then it's easy to say, okay, well, yes, so I must be funny, or must be attractive, and I must be enough. So I'm gonna this is my identity now. This woman has confirmed some belief I have of myself in a positive way instead of a negative way. It happens in the positive light too. It's important to observe that, regardless of whatever has transpired, observe what's happening, and then even if it's positive experiences, but react with indifference, respond with indifference. Don't respond because you have butterflies, or don't respond with your butterflies. Observe your butterflies and then respond appropriately. Mashed potatoes, that's why I've always thought the, quote, never go to bed mad at your partner, quote, advice sucks. You should go to bed mad, let it rest, get a new perspective, then come back and have a rational conversation. Yeah, that's shitty advice. Yeah, I'm probably a little too aggressive on that approach on the other side too, because whenever I have hard feelings, I got to get it all out, and I feel like I got to do it ASAP. And it's really important. I don't want to say anything rude or untrue. So you should always spend time contemplating what has made you so upset, but you have to be able to talk about it. Sweet. We're killing it. Let's keep going. Yeah, you are not your ego. So when you become aware of your ego, you're aware of who you're not. Content, yes. Identifying with content, don't do it. Quote, to be in alignment with what is means to be in a relationship of non-resistance with what happens. He says things in funny ways, but I think, I love what he's saying. To be in alignment with what is means to be in a relationship of non-resistance with what happens. Observing and expecting or observing what's happening in the world around you. Whoops. Drop my book. Observing what happens and accepting it and allowing the emotions to come in. This is that energy, right? Observing it and allowing it to come in is this. He calls it a relationship of non-resistance. And this is how you live in the present. This is how you align yourself. He says alignment with what is. To be in alignment with what is means to be in a relationship of non-resistance. To observe the good things that happen in the world, the bad things that happen in the world, and then to accept what is out of your control and to make the best decisions possible. The ego treats the present moment as a means to an end, an obstacle, or an enemy. The noticing of the dysfunction is the awareness that grounds you to the moment. This whole book is about getting rid of your ego. That's living a new life, achieving a better life, finding meaning, finding purpose, finding peace through the abolition. Abolition? Getting rid of your ego. Is abolition a word? Yeah. Abolition. Scraping, the action or an act of abolishing a system. Yeah, abolition. I don't think I've ever said that. The whole book is about the abolition of the ego, and that's how you find the most meaning, peace, and purpose. And that's what we're fucking doing here on this podcast, baby. That's why you've listened to an hour and a half of this already. I gotta get to wrapping this up. But the ego uses the present moment as a means to an end, as an obstacle or an enemy. And the abolition of the ego is noticing this dysfunction. It's being aware of what the ego is trying to manipulate the present moment for. It's non-resistance to the uncontrollable forces in life. Like when I was recently really sick, I couldn't do anything except take care of myself and maintain my composure. Except I didn't. I was mostly irritated and completely resistant. It's hard, man, and it's just another life lesson. I want to be healthy. The whole reason that I exercise and take all these stupid supplements and vitamins and go to sleep early is so I don't get sick, so I can maximize my potential or just be the best version of myself possible. But I still get sick, and there's nothing I can do about it. And that's resistance to the uncontrollable experience. Events in life is the ego trying to use these moments as a means to an end. But if I want to get rid of my ego, I will accept those moments where I'm sick and there's nothing I could have done about it. I'll accept those moments and just be sick, but also maintain composure and be the best version of myself possible. Pay attention to what it feels like to be diminished. You aren't those things that have happened to you. Yep, talked about this. Chapter 8. The discovery of inner peace. Avoid things that weaken attention. Oh, it talks a ton about attention. I loved this chapter. He mentions commercials with quickly changing pictures. This book, I think, was written in 2004. I forgot to mention that. Oops. So he was writing this before TikTok and social media. Oh, shit. Where is it? Yeah, first print was 2005. So he was right. He talks about quickly changing pictures in commercials, in TV commercials. He says avoid those because they drain our ability to stay, to focus, to maintain attention. And so now we have all these fucking social media things, and TV's even crazier. We have Netflix. We have an seemingly endless list of things to watch. So let's keep going about attention. A shallow attention weakens quality and depth. Somewhere he discusses, this was huge. In chapter 8, he mentions poets and philosophers that, quote, true happiness is found in simple, seemingly insignificant things. There was a list of some awesome What chapter is this? The Discovery of Inner Space. Let's see if I can find the list really quickly. So before he talks about simple experiences. I'm going to move through this really quickly if I can't find it. Whenever there's beauty, kindness, the recognition of the goodness, and look for the background, but don't look for it as if you're looking for something. When you are able to sense it directly within yourself, it deepens. So when you appreciate something simple, a sound, a sight, a touch, when you see beauty, when you feel loving kindness towards another, sense the inner spaciousness that is the source and background to that experience. No. There was something else. I should have paid more attention to writing it down. But it goes along the train that so like I just said, that the true happiness is found in simple, seemingly insignificant things. Without spending too much time talking, because we got to wrap this up soon. There is a weird dichotomy between seeking pleasure but also neglecting or rejecting pleasure to find peace or to live a meaningful life. As biological meat sacks, we're programmed to seek out comfort and avoid displeasure or avoid pain and suffering. That's how we're programmed. That's how most creatures are programmed. We don't there's no good reason to subject yourself to any kind of suffering or pain. So my argument is, we talk about taking cold showers and exercising and getting lots of sunlight in your eyes and getting off the couch, not spending too much time sitting down. A lot of things that are uncomfortable but are good for you. The reason that we have to subject ourselves to this discomfort is because our ancestors have lived their whole lives. They lived all of their evolution stemmed through these things. They had to exert energy and through exercise to get food. They spent all of their time outside in the sun. They had to wash themselves. They didn't have showers and baths. They had to wash themselves in creeks and rivers and lakes that were cold. They had to subject themselves to uncomfortable things because that was the only way they could survive. They weren't doing cold showers because their guru told them to do cold showers. They just did cold showers to wash themselves. They had to run through the mountains and lift heavy rocks and build houses and build shit, and they worked really hard. But the consequence was really rewarding, dopamine and endorphins being released in the brain. Good sensations, pleasant sensations that come from the hard work. Now we don't have to do any of that to survive. We don't have to do any hard shit to survive. We can sit on our couch, I have several times, from sunrise to sunset, and have all your food delivered to you. You don't even have to open your window. You get all your food delivered to you and be completely sedentary and enjoy endless amounts of entertainment. The problem is it just rapidly deteriorates our bodies and our minds. And so to go, I've made my case. Now, when we talk about simple things, this mostly stems from our ability to, or our desire for pleasure. Our ancestors still wanted to feel pleasant things, so they still had, we talked about sex, casual sex amongst our ancestors in the last podcast, and sex is a highly social behavior, and music predates language. There's evidence of music before people could talk to each other. We humans are programmed to seek entertainment, and now our issue is along the same lines of exerting ourselves. we have endless forms of insanely high quality entertainment at our disposal. Right here, I got this supercomputer in my hand. I'm looking at another computer of that has endless forms of entertainment, ways to stimulate my brain, to release dopamine and endorphins, and without putting any effort in. And it ranges from video games to TV to pornography to food, to music videos, anything that you can conceive of really is available to us with no effort expended. And in short, it's not like we should reject pleasure. That's not that. Remember when we read How to Think Like a Roman Emperor? Was that the one that was called? How to Think, yeah, by Donald Robertson. How to Think Like a Roman Emperor. He talks about the difference between Stoicism and the Stoics and the Cynics. The Cynics, they taught the rejection of pleasure, to live your life in, to reject comforts and pleasures of life. But the Stoics were not to reject them. It's unwise to reject them. We should seek health. We should seek strength. We should seek wisdom. But we shouldn't seek them at the cost of our well-being. And we shouldn't overindulge. We should always use moderation. That's the point here. So it's not like we shouldn't have nice things and we shouldn't have comfortable things. That's not what the Stoics think, and that's not what Buddhists, that's not what he's talking about either. But when we constantly engage in high stimulating, really drugs like social media and porn, we're weakening our sensitivity to any kind of stimulation. And if you just catch yourself in a deep rabbit hole, if you constantly are engaged in TV, porn, video games, then your attention span dwindles, and your ability to engage or maintain your attention in really dull things, it goes away. So the lesson here is, first and foremost, moderation, but also first and foremost actually would be to be aware of the shit that you're engaging in. How stimulating is the shit that you're engaged in, and how often are you engaged in it? And are you starting to struggle to hold conversations with people, or are you struggling to sit alone with your thoughts? Are you struggling to leave your phone in another room? Are you struggling to just be present without crazy stimulus? Are you able to do that? So I love this chapter on attention. I want to spend a lot of time talking. Well, I want to talk about all the shit, but that's not wise. So I'm going to keep going. Happiness isn't caused by the event. And that's all he says. I said he doesn't elaborate, so I'll fill in that happiness occurs when you have your biological needs met, and it's the peace you feel when you don't identify with your ego. That's how I defined happiness. One, happiness comes by having your biological needs met. By remember Maslow hierarchy of needs. I forget the 5 levels, but it starts with your Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It starts with your physiological needs rather: air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing. Next, your safety needs: personal security, employment, resources, health. Then your love, and you got to go in this order. It's a hierarchy. It's from the most fundamental to the most acutely designed forms of needs. Physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. The desire to become the most that one can be. After you have all of your other needs met, when you're at the top, it's about being the best version of yourself as possible. And what made me bring this up? Oh yes, happiness. So happiness comes by meeting all of your basic needs, climbing that ladder of the needs hierarchy, But also peace or happiness comes by relinquishing your ego, relinquishing to the identity of your ego, not identifying with your ego, being still observant of it, but not identifying with it. Using other words to define consciousness defeats the idea of what consciousness is. You cannot know consciousness then, but you can be aware of it. Yes, consciousness is what it is. It is who we are. It is who you are. It is who I am. And if you try to use other words to define it, you diminish its integrity of what it actually is. But it's who am I? I am consciousness. And my consciousness observes my thoughts, it observes my emotions, and it observes my actions. And it helps this body make the best decisions possible. I guess religiously, you would probably define like consciousness as your spirit. Your spirit is what inhabits this. At least was the Mormon lesson that I was raised in. And anyway, your spirit observes this body. It observes like the pains and pleasures of this body, but your spirit is a separate entity to this body. So, and when you die, it is your spirit that transcends. And here for Buddhism, your consciousness transcends. It's reincarnated, or it until like it is collected through nirvana. Right? Isn't that how that goes? So they work. They're hand in hand. There's the same idea between spirit and consciousness. Awareness of addictive behavior is the first step to overcoming behavior. Yes. Chapter 9, your inner purpose. Your inner purpose is to awaken. That's it. Your outer purpose changes. It is always relative, unstable, and impermanent. It is whatever is on your plate right now, not what you want to accomplish before you retire, as an example. The nowness is connected to your inner purpose. Quote, when you negate time, you negate ego. Yes, your inner purpose is to awaken. And your outer purpose is to focus on whatever's on your plate right now, whatever is right in front of you, and it should be connected to your inner purpose, help you awaken. Anxiety and stress arise when your outer purpose rises above or takes priority over your inner purpose. Quote, what the future holds, sorry, CVS Pharmacy, I'm not going to take your call. What the future holds for you depends on your state of consciousness now. Chapter 10, last chapter, a new earth. The more spiritually ignorant you are, the more you suffer. The more spiritually ignorant you are, the more you suffer. He said it, not me. Spirituality looks different in this context than it does in most religions, I think. But it's the same idea. It's not like spirituality isn't reading the Bible and saying your prayers. I think in this context, spirituality is observing. It's all the shit we've been talking about. Living in the present moment, thinking about your thoughts, identifying with your consciousness and not with your ego, not with any content in the world, not with any status, not with any events in the world, not with any beliefs. It's not identifying with anything. You don't identify with anything because you are not any of those things. You're not any pleasure. You're not any pain. You're not any suffering. You're not any accomplishments or success. You are simply the consciousness that observes this body. You're the spirit that observes this body, that dwells in this body. Nothing happens that shouldn't happen. Just like Yuval Noah Harari says, if it can be perceived in nature, it is natural. Anything that happens to us is natural, and capital L, life. Anything that happens or doesn't happen to us is natural. Yes. So, and that answers the question to, or at least it pretty much dissolves the sense of entitlement that people feel. If you think that the world should be one way or that people should behave a certain way because of how you believe or how you think, you're living in your ego. You're living in some identity that you've created. But if you release that, If you release the notion that things should be a certain way, and you accept that life happens, life is random, events are random. Most of it is probably just about everything is out of your control, and it's random, and it's if you accept that, then then you are releasing your ego. You're not you're living above your ego. You're a conscious, awakened, woke person, right? Woke in a different context, because it's not the same as the woke that you read about on Twitter, but woke or awake in the sense that you're aware of the fact that the world happens, that life happens, and it's out of your control, and it's natural, and that's all natural. And the best you can do is observe what's happening and respond the best you can. There are 3 modalities of awakened doing. 3 ways consciousness can flow through you and into the world and everyone you encounter. This is some good application to everything we just talked about. The 3 modalities of awakened doing: acceptance, enjoyment, and enthusiasm. And he talks about all of those at length, but suffice it to say that the 3 ways consciousness can flow through you and into the world and into everyone you encounter is to accept the present moment, enjoy the present moment, or enjoy what you do in the present moment, and be enthusiastic about the things that are about what you're doing, the things that you're engaged in. It's not enjoying or being enthusiastic about the horrible things you hear about. It's about accepting the horrible things that you hear about, and then doing something, and then, because we're awake, doing something positive in response to that negative thing, enjoying it, and being enthusiastic about your positive response. Like if something horrible, like we've been talking about school shootings, accept the fact that it has happened, and then you get involved in some charity, or you get involved in reconciling the horrible act. Even natural disasters, things that you can't control, accepting that it happened, but then being a part of a solution, being a part of a good action or a good deed in the world, having enjoyment in it and being enthusiastic of it. Quote, "The joy of being is joy of being conscious." That's it. That's the end of the book, baby. That is A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. Man, I'm starting to really enjoy the Buddhist wisdom. I think it aligns really well with Stoic philosophy, Stoic wisdom, and it's helps me live, like, it helps me reconcile the loss of spirituality that I've faced in my life, not going to traditional church anymore. I still can relate to, just like I was explaining, the similarities between consciousness and spirituality. It's like the same thing. It rings true and it rings familiar to a lot of what I've learned in my life. So that being said, if you want to recapture the rapture, talked a lot about continuing what he calls them, the nones, Nones, the people who are spiritual but aren't religious for whatever reason, and they find spirituality in his new way of living. Go listen to that episode; it was crazy. But this wisdom and Stoic philosophy help me. They show me that, at least from a objective point of view, you can find peace and purpose in your life and meaning through what they're saying, and it can be applied to just about any belief system. But the whole point is, regardless of if you believe in God or gods or no God or Mother Nature, whatever you whatever you religiously believe in, this applies to it. And he talks a lot about Christ and Christ's teachings, and other Buddhist philosophers do, other Stoic philosophers do. All of 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson was a reference to the Bible. Basically, there's the wisdom is very similar. It's the, it gets weird when you start talking about like the consequences of not believing in something. But anyway, if you want to live a peaceful and a meaningful life, you could this is like the fundamentals to it. I think the fundamental, and so the fundamental is, you are not your body. You are this entity that observes your body. You're the consciousness that observes your body and your thoughts and your emotions, or you could call it a spirit. You could call it a consciousness or spirit, whatever. And when you disassociate yourself, your consciousness, from your body, you are able to observe how to you're able to observe what happens in the world, how your body responds, and how you should react, what you should do because of it. And it brings more peace of mind. Living in the moment instead of living in the future and the past brings more peace of mind. It brings more peace, more meaning, more purpose. That was everything we just talked about. So awesome. Now, next week, we're going to be reading Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow by Yuval Noah Harari. This is the second installment of the Sapiens book. Remember, that was like the first or second book that I did on this podcast. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. This is Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow. Homo being human, Deus being God. I think Deus is Latin for God. This is Sapiens was how humans got from where they were to where we are today. From our earliest ancestors, the breakoff, and then all of the evolution up through big cultural evolutions to where we are today. And this is like where we're going probably. This book's crazy. I read this before we started doing the podcast. I'm excited to read it again. You should probably go listen to the first episode. Here's a picture of it. Go listen to Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. Let me read his bio right here in the book really quick. Yuval Noah Harari is a historian, philosopher, and the best-selling author of Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, and Sapiens, A Graphic History. His books have sold 30 million copies in 60 languages, and he is considered one of the world's most influential public intellectuals today. Brilliant man. Brilliant, brilliant man. And his books are awesome. Sapiens was... I'm sorry, Mom, but Sapiens might be the catalyst to my exit of the church, because it just answered so many questions about that I had spiritually. And so I really loved that first book. I really loved this one. I'm excited to read this again and talk about it. So if you want to join that conversation live, you can find Mashed Potatoes and St. Steve's TV. Looks like he's here. He was here, a silent listener today. Thanks for showing up, man. Both of you guys and any other silent viewers that are here right now, you can join them in the chat live. If you go to my YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, follow, subscribe, turn on your notifications. You'll get notified when we go live, and then you can participate in the chat, share your thoughts. He's got some crazy thoughts about where we're going in the world. Find all the links through my blog, cadenkellysblog.wordpress.com. And it's got links to my socials, where you find all the TikToks that I've been talking about, the Instagram reels that I've been making. You'll find links to everything. You'll find links to everything, baby. Find links to everything. I wrote in my blog about my identifying with my statuses in pickleball. I write in a blog. You read everything. All of this is supposed to help all of us live a better life. This is this is my effort to improve myself. It forces me to like being accountable to you on the podcast is my motivation. Like it motivates me to go to the gym. It motivates me to write. It motivates me to read. It motivates me to take notes and to actually ponder and consider what's going on. Because if I don't actually try, then this podcast is dumb. But I want to try, and I hope it makes me a better person. I want it to. That's the whole point. Who is the philosopher that said that the whole point of philosophy is to make you a better person. That's the whole point. Everything that we learn is to try to make us a better person. Because if it's not making you a better person, then what the fuck is it doing? So that's what we're doing here. Go find all the links to the shit. Go read Eckhart Tolle's books if you're looking for, if you want to be an awakened individual, an enlightened individual. You'll find less pain and sorrow through your life, personal experiences. You'll find more meaning in your life. Wonderful stuff. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for showing up, guys. We'll see you next time.